this may be Nick Kotznicker from NHL.com. This may go along with what you just said, but a lot of teams close practice in the regular season, right, to keep secrets or just to eliminate distractions. We're 2 days before the final. It's open, right? And there's music outside, and there's pizza, and there's kids.
There's pizza?
Yeah. Like, why is that important? Why did you do it? Were you tempted to not? All right, because it's the final.
No, I go along with how they want to market the team here, and I think, I don't want to speak for Bill Foley, but the brand here is the branding that's been done here to me is unbelievable. It's everywhere. So for me, we don't have a lot of secrets. There's obviously regulations, I think you have to follow, especially at this time of the year, but our practices have been open all year. There's some stuff they close early on, and that's obvious for if there's certain guys skating out there that are, probably injured guys, right? So, but at the end of the day, they've been here all year supporting us, not in this many numbers, obviously, but school's out as well, so good to see them out there. I think it's great. I don't know every arena's philosophy. I know coming from Boston, we had a new facility opened up, so I know they let fans in on certain days, and I thought it was the right call, to be honest with you, and I'm glad they do it here.
Bruce, GuillaumeLepage@NH.com. I know you have a bit of a French background. What stands out to you about the relationship between Carrier, Roy, and Marchessault?
Yeah, I think, the Quebec guys are always tight. It's just the way it is, because I think, it starts with the language. There's a lot of young guys that come up and they feel comfortable, no different than if a European player comes over. And so I think they naturally gravitate towards one another. They probably train to a certain extent at home in the summer. So they're tight, close-knit guys. There was a game this year, I put them out together for once, just to, what the hell, let's give them a shot out there. And I think it was just by dumb luck, but I always wondered if it would stick, right? Because there's the right winger, center, and left wing for us. But at the end of the day, Nick plays with Will, so he's got one of his buddies on his side. But I think it's great. I speak a little French, so they can't fool me if they're talking about me, how much I know. And I told them that early on.
Mark Anderson, AP. Jack obviously was having a great postseason. He didn't have a goal in the last series, but just the way he contributes in so many different ways, not just beyond putting the puck in the net. How valuable is that to have a player that versatile?
Well, I think all our centermen, Nick is a little more forecheck oriented guy, but the other three all fall into that category. They're dominant players, 200-foot players. Will Carlson's hot right now, but they've all scored, and they all can. But they don't have to for us to be good. They check well. They take face-offs, special teams guys. It allows us to balance our lines is what it does. And I think it's one of the biggest reasons why we're here right now is we can do that. We have a good mindset that we can maybe check one of the other team's top lines and then come back with guys that have the ability to create offense and maybe have a competitive advantage in that area. We'll see how it plays out against Florida. But, speaking with Jack, I think he was very good in the Dallas series, had a lot of good looks, hit a post or two, had some chances to score, made plays, big play in game 2 to make a play to Marchessault to get us into overtime. So he's still making plays all over the ice, just didn't finish.
Steve Carp with the Sporting Tribune. How much of a role has the tenor of your dressing room played in this team's success? They seem to get along well. They're welcoming to the new players who came along during the season. They respect and like playing for you. From your perspective, how much of an importance has it been?
Well, I don't think you win very often without it. I think there's times over the years, I'm sure there was guys that didn't get along, but they were just very talented and they found a way. In today's game, I don't see as much of that. Usually it's the first thing you hear. We like coming to the rink. We like each other. We like each other's companies. So for us, I think it's huge. And I bet Florida says the same thing. That's just today's game. I think the players always play better when they're comfortable with one another. And it's certainly in there. I've noticed it since I walked in the room. When you first get here, you're trying to build relationships with a lot of different people, and obviously the players are, if not the most important. And you watch them at dinners on the road, whatever pregame meals, and it's never, one guy, two guys always, it's whoever's there. They just sit down and whatever seat's available. That tells you something right there. So glad we have it.
Ed Graney, Review Journal. On top of that, I talked a lot of them about the formation of trust, you trusting them. Was there a point in the season, 4 lines, not chasing matchups, that you trusted them as a first-year coach for them more so than not?
Well, we tried to build it in from day one. I think I was very clear that we wanted a 4th line that would have value, that could check the other team's top players, start games for us, and I think we stuck with that. Pretty much all year. And it happened to be Carrier was a big part of that. Colasar, Nick Waugh. Now we had to move some people around. Teddy Bluger comes in. He's part of that. Howie went down there. And I think it's a big reason for our success. They're hard to play against. So they give us that initial work ethic like, hey, this is what you're going through tonight. This is what you're going to have to deal with. And I think they've been excellent for us. They add physicality, great teammates, don't get a lot of probably credit that they deserve. But and if you watch, Game 6, you can see where that trust both ways happened, right? They knew that, they were going to be relied on. And Game 5, I thought Dallas's bottom lineup did a great job, and we responded well. That's the other thing they'll do is they accept challenges. So been real good for us, and that was a conscious effort from day one to do that, to be a 4-line hockey team, because I think that's how you arrive here. Like I said, unless you've got maybe the top end talent in the league, but we beat a team with some real top end talent, so maybe there's an argument for how we did it, but I've trusted them all year. We went, there's going to be some matchup situations. It could be against Florida here where we look to overload a checking line. We felt we had to do a little bit with McDavid and Draisaitl, and so we got a little bit in that route and then got away from it. So whatever's best for the team, but I can't say enough about those guys. And we always thought, where I came from in Boston, I always felt we had a real strong 4th line too that helped build our identity. So that's just something I believe in.
Hey Bruce, Alan Snow with LVSportsBiz.com. Since you brought up the topic of the Golden Knights brand and the kind of atmosphere there that's in the in the practice arena, I was just kind of curious in terms of the league-wide effort to try to broaden the brand and reach other demographic groups. I was kind of curious about your own opinions about what the league could do to get the message out and just make the league brand resonate with people who may have not watched a game or attend games or see it on TV.
How the league could do it better? Oh boy, I'll probably get myself in trouble here, but some of it's driven by TV. And a good example is that was our clinching game against Edmonton, right? Comes on at 10 o'clock, you know what I mean? So it's great for here, but maybe the East missed some good hockey and watching good players like Jack Eichel play against McDavid and the rest of it. So some of that is just driven by those contracts they say. Yeah, exposure. Usually exposure is the thing that gives you the most. Hey, you want eyeballs, right? And so I know they're trying to get as many games out there as possible on TV, but I'm probably not the best guy to speak on what the league should or shouldn't do. I know the games, and it seems to be in a good place financially. You're always going to have a few teams that might lag a little bit behind or trying to catch up, and you've got the established franchise that have a leg up because of them. And I look at the last 2 that come in, Vegas and Seattle, and they seem to be doing really, really well, really healthy. So that's the good news, right? So the game's still growing, and there's markets out there for new teams, and where that goes from here, I don't know. But at the end of the day, that I guess I don't know if that I'm helping answer your question, but like I said, that the more exposure there is throughout the country, and there's pockets of areas that probably are still untapped. I'm not sure exactly where they'd be, but who knew on Vegas necessarily either, right? Or in Arizona, so those are the things you got to sort of dig around and find out. And I'm sure they're doing their due diligence if they feel there's another market out there, and we'll see what happens in that regard.
Ben Goetz, Las Vegas Regional. Bruce, as someone who's been inside and outside the organization, what's kind of your perspective on this team's success? 2 semifinal runs, now 2 trips to the Stanley Cup final.
Well, I think they got up and running in the. Obviously, George and Kelly did a fantastic job with the original draft. They made some good deals where they were able to get draft capital and established players, and they used that to their advantage. Good for them. And so they started with a real solid foundation. Then the first year team, from Gerard to the players, they just established a work ethic team, and it worked. And so that from day one, you have an owner that has expectations and puts the necessary resources into to meet those expectations. So those things sum it up right there. And then all of a sudden you have a fan base that's supporting their team every day in a beautiful building and environment that people want to come and see the team. And so those are some pretty good things to start with, and from there a lot of good players came through here. And there's a lot still in that dressing room, and that's usually what drives it, right? You need to have good players. They just happen to get them right away. Yeah, thank you.